Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. I'm having an okay day. I have to work at Walmart later and I'm not really looking forward to spending my weekend at Walmart. But you know what? I got to sleep in. I'm glad I have a second job because my car fell apart last week. I had to get new brakes. Well, no, not new brakes. I had to get new brake pads. I had to get rotors, and next week I have to get a ball joint. Yeah, that's $900 down the drain. You know, when I got a second job, it was to pay off some credit card debt and to pay off my car early. But then my car just decided it wanted to start falling apart. I had to get a new muffler a couple months ago. So, you know what though? I'm going to be glad that I have a second job that will help me pay for these things. And most of all, I am thankful that my car stops when it's supposed to when I brake. This is a good thing. So you know what? I'm going to have a good day. This is a day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it, even if I have to work at Walmart. So anyway, I don't know if any of you are like me. Well, I know you're not because there's only one of me, and I'm a unique person. I understand that. But if any of you are anything like me, and I know some of you are, admit it, you understand that for a long time, Christian filmmaking has stunk. I got saved in 1992, and the Christian movies I had to watch back then were things like Left Behind, which, you know, it's entertaining, but it's not something I would show a friend who's not a Christian. It's not, you know, it wasn't exactly great acting. Yeah, so I had Left Behind and movies like that. So I am so thankful that movies have gotten better because I have a background in theater. I love acting. I love writing. I love storytelling. And so it's so refreshing that movies in the Christian atmosphere are finally getting better to the point where, like, even some non-Christian friends of mine and family members of mine have watched and enjoyed because they're not bad. It's good storytelling, good acting, good directing, good cinematography. Like, just everything is finally getting better with Christian filmmaking. Thank goodness. So I thought it would be fun to go through 10 of my favorite Christian films. Now, these are not going to be ranked in any specific order. It's not like, you know, 10 is my least favorite, 1 is my most favorite, and I'm just throwing them out there. It's just 10 movies that I really think you should watch and why. And I will put down below, I will put the name of the film, the rating of the film, and all of that fun stuff. So let's get to it. Before I start, I do want to say you might see me looking down. I have some notes written down about these movies because I just cannot memorize everything I want to say. So I have notes. So let's begin with the first film on my list. It's the most recent film on my list, Sound of Freedom. Now, Sound of Freedom was originally filmed in 2018 by Fox Studios. Then Disney bought Fox Studios and the movie got shelved. We don't really know why it got shelved. I think we can make some guesses here, but it got shelved, never to see the light of day. Until Angel Studios, the studio known for The Chosen and a lot of other great content. Check out their app. They have some really good shows and movies on their app. But they bought the rights to Sound of Freedom. So thankfully, Sound of Freedom has finally seen the light of day, and it has been like, it's blowing out the box office. It has been like a blockbuster hit this summer, which is just amazing for a Christian film, especially because of the content of this film. Now, Sound of Freedom is the true story of Tim Ballard, CEO and founder of Operation Underground Railroad. I knew I had that wrong. But what they do, what OUR does, is they go into other countries and they rescue victims of sex trafficking. And I have been a fan of Tim Ballard for a long time. That's why when I first heard about this film, I was a little leery because as much as I love Jim Caviezel, he just didn't look like Tim Ballard to me. And seeing him with blonde hair was a little odd. So I was like, I'm not so sure how this is going to go. Thankfully, though, I was proven wrong. And it's a great performance. Tim Caviezel is just amazing in this role. I actually went to see Sound of Freedom twice in the theaters. It's not really an action film. Some people have labeled it an action film, but it's not like Jim Caviezel goes into the jungle and goes all like Rambo on people and like all that. Like, although that would be fun to watch. but it's not really an action film. It's more of a suspense drama, is how I would label it. So I don't understand the controversy surrounding this film. I really don't. So let's discuss some of the controversy, shall we? The first is that it's a QAnon film. I don't even know what that means. But QAnon wasn't even a thing when this film was made, so I don't know how it's a QAnon film. Second, most normal people have no idea what QAnon even is. Although they probably know now because all of the haters who have been calling it a QAnon film. But people keep saying it's a QAnon film. All these QAnon people are supporting the film, and that's why we shouldn't watch it because they support it. Okay, most people, like I said, don't even know what QAnon is. Most normal people are not on QAnon message boards checking out what they watch, looking at what TV shows they like, what movies do they like, what are they watching, what are they supporting, so I have to go against that. No. Like, if someone who's a racist likes a film, can I not like that film because, well, this person likes it and they're a racist, and so therefore that makes the movie bad? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. So I don't really care if QAnon supporters like the film. I don't care. It just shows that they have some taste. As far as Jim Caviezel and Tim Ballard's personal beliefs, behind the scenes, as far as their like religious beliefs, political beliefs, I don't care. When I go see a Tom Cruise movie, do I sit there and say, well, this is Scientology propaganda because of his beliefs offset? No. So I don't even understand why people cannot separate the actor from the content of the film. Just because someone believes something offset, that doesn't mean that that's what their movie is about or promoting. So like, I don't even understand why people can't separate the two. Let me give you an example. I love Sean Penn movies. He's a great actor. Cannot stand his politics. Sometimes I think he should just zip it and stick to just making movies because he is a great actor. But I'm able to separate the actor from the person. Like, they're not the same. So yeah, I don't understand this whole like, because of what Jim Caviezel believes, because of what Tim Ballard believes, people can't watch this film. Like, do you research every actor of every film that you watch to see what they believe so that you can know if you should watch it or not? Like, come on, people. Come on. Okay, I'm getting off on a tangent. Pardon me. Let's see. Oh. People love to complain that this movie isn't 100% factual. What Hollywood movie is? I have news for you. When you see a movie that's based on a true story, it's not 100% true. There's something out there called creative license, and most movies do this. Most movies that are based on a true story have some creative license. There are some things in the movie that may not be 100% accurate. Even Tim Ballard has said there are things in Sound of Freedom that didn't actually happen. So it's not like he's trying to hide something or trying to pretend that this actually happened. He's admitted, like, no, there are some things in the film that did not happen. So I don't understand why people are hung up on, well, this isn't 100% true. Not everything in this film actually happened. If that's your biggest issue, then you're like missing the point of the film. I'm just saying. I've heard people say that this is not how trafficking happens. Most trafficking, most victims of trafficking are trafficked by people they know. This is actually true. Okay, I have worked with anti-trafficking NGOs. So yes, a lot of people, most people who get trafficked are trafficked by a family member, a boyfriend, someone they have an actual relationship with. But this is not a documentary about human trafficking. This is a movie about one specific situation. So I'm not sure why people are all hung up on, well, this isn't how most trafficking happens. Okay. I mean, there are so many different forms of trafficking. You've got labor trafficking. You've got, sex trafficking. You've got online trafficking. Like, there's so many different various, like, trafficking issues. The movie cannot cover them all. They just can't. Okay? Another thing, and this really... I have heard people refer to this as a white savior movie. People, I cannot stand it when people use the term white savior. Okay, because first of all, Tim Ballard, which is what the movie is about, Tim Ballard, he's white. Oh no, he's white. Now, if Disney had made this movie, he'd probably be female. But you know what? They stuck to the actual story. Tim Ballard is white. You can't get past that. I don't understand the term white savior. I have a friend who has adopted a couple of children who are African American, and she's white. She's been referred to by people as a white savior. Like, really? So I guess she should just keep the kids in, in foster care and, in the system instead of, like, adopting them? Like, I don't understand that. I don't understand it. It seems like if a white person doesn't help someone of another race, we're racist. But then when you do help someone of another race, you're a white savior. Make up your mind, people. Seriously. So, all of the criticism that this movie has had, all of the garbage people have thrown at it, let's put it to the side for a second. This film blasted everyone away at the box office. I mean, this film did so amazingly well. Like, no one expected it to. I think at one point it was like, I don't know if it got to number 1. I know it was at least number 2 at the box office at one point. But it just blew people away. People were like shocked at how well this movie did. And I'm just so thankful that this movie is out there, because there are still people who don't understand that trafficking is real. There are still people who kind of live in their own little bubbles. Like, they're not really aware that this kind of stuff goes on. So I am so thankful this has brought that to the forefront. And the people who want to criticize it, go fly a kite. I mean, for real. It's an amazing movie, and I know it's going to be really hard for some people to watch. I think it'll be hard for anyone to watch if you actually have a heart. There are scenes in the movie where, and this is what I liked about the movie, it didn't get too graphic. There are scenes in the movie with the children where they allude to what's about to happen between the child and the trafficker, but they don't actually show anything. But they show enough, and they allude to it in such a way that, like, you don't need to see more. Like, it's enough. It's enough to just pull out your heart. Like, there were times, I have a background in anti-trafficking. I worked in India for 9 months with International Justice Mission. I currently volunteer with a local trafficking NGO. I've read books, watched documentaries and other movies about trafficking. I thought I had seen it all, and yet this movie still just brought me to tears. And there were so many jaw-dropping moments in this film, and it's just an amazing film. And if you get a chance to go see it, please do, and take people with you. And when it comes out on DVD, please buy it, support it. I think we need more movies like this. Not necessarily more movies about trafficking, but I think we need more movies that really show people what's going on in the world. It's amazing how many people just have their heads in the sand. And I'm sorry, but a lot of them are Christians. They live with their heads in the sand, and they live in these like nice little Christian bubbles, and it's like they don't really understand what's going on in the outside world. And it's really heartbreaking, because we need to pray for these people. We need to pray for victims of trafficking. We need to, if we can, we need to, go out and get involved in anti-trafficking movements. In fact, that is one thing I kind of didn't like about the film. At the very end, Jim Caviezel, after the credits, Jim Caviezel comes on screen, and he talks about, how horrific child trafficking is, and how people need to care, people need to get involved. The problem is, they don't tell you how to get involved. And so I feel like a lot of people are going to walk away not knowing where to go after this, not knowing what to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the description down below links to some anti-trafficking organizations, websites that I think could really help lead you in the right direction if you want to go there. If you want to help people who have been enslaved, if you want to help people who are being trafficked, I'm going to leave some links below that will help you get involved. Next on my list is Jesus Revolution. This is also a recent film. It only came out a few months ago. It's now on many of the streaming platforms if you want to watch it. It's a true story with some of that creative license. about pastors Chuck Smith, Greg Laurie, and Calvary Chapel, and the beginnings of like the Jesus Revolution in the 1970s. It also stars Jonathan Roumie as Lonnie Frisbee, and this movie was not without its haters, let me tell you. One of the big controversies about this movie had to do with the character of Lonnie Frisbee. Now, Lonnie Frisbee was a very influential character in the person in the Jesus movement, and he was very influential when it came to Calvary Chapel. So, of course, he's going to be a part of the story, right? But what a lot of people did not like or do not like is knowing that Lonnie Frisbee struggled with same-sex attraction. And in fact, he would die of AIDS in the 1980s. And I knew Christians who would not see this movie and just they refused to, because they say that it glorifies Lonnie Frisbee, it celebrates Lonnie Frisbee, and I'm sitting there going, it's not even about Lonnie Frisbee. It's about Calvary Chapel, and in fact most of the movie is about Greg Laurie. But let me tell you something, God uses imperfect people all the time, but for some reason when it comes to people who struggle with same-sex attraction, Christians are like, nope, can't go there. God can't use you. Let me tell you something. God can use anyone he darn well pleases. And Lonnie Frisbee, what many people probably don't realize because they didn't do their research and they didn't find out, they just heard that, oh, he struggles with same-sex attraction, he died of AIDS, can't watch this film. Well, the thing is, Lonnie Frisbee repented of his sins. And in fact, he gave a deathbed confession in which he repented of his lifestyle. And I'm actually going to link below a video I think everyone needs to watch. It's by one of his best friends who knew him, in his last days, his last moments. And he talks about Lonnie repenting of his behavior. Lonnie did not glorify his behavior. Lonnie did not celebrate his own behavior. Lonnie was not proud of his own behavior. He was very repentive, I think, is that even a word? But he repented. And, is there no grace? Are we just going to throw his story by the wayside because, well, he struggled with same-sex attraction, so we can't know anything about him? No, I think God uses anyone he wants to. I think God can use people. Everyone struggles differently. Some Christians struggle with gluttony. Some Christians struggle with gossip. Some Christians struggle with lying. Some Christians struggle with pornography. Some Christians struggle with, heterosexual sex. So some people struggle with same-sex attraction. And it's not something, as I said, it's not something that he was proud of. And so to throw this movie out and be like, well, I can't watch this movie because of this character who happened to be an imperfect human being, it's ridiculous. I think a lot of people need to look into Lonnie, and a lot of people need to read his deathbed confession. In fact, the video I'm going to link below, his friend reads his deathbed confession, and it's very sad and it's very heartbreaking. And if anything, I think more people need to see it because it is a wake-up call as far as showing where sin can lead you. So anyway, with that aside, Jonathan Roumie did an amazing job as Lonnie Frisbee. He was able to show Lonnie Frisbee's, not so good side, because Lonnie Frisbee, struggled with a lot of pride issues as well, which is shown in the film. And all in all, I just think it was a great film. It was great music. It was a great story. I would love to go out to California someday and visit Pirates Cove and see where these people got baptized during the Jesus movement. In fact, just recently they had another baptism there where I think thousands got baptized by Greg Laurie. So it's just amazing. Let's see. It is a fun movie. It doesn't shy away from the imperfections of its characters. It's a fun film. I recommend it. Don't let anyone tell you, oh, well, you shouldn't see this movie because it glorifies Lonnie Frisbee. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't glorify him. It doesn't make, sinful behavior look okay. I'm not sure where people are getting this. Oh, and do not listen to lies and gossip on the internet, because I had someone tell me, oh, well, Lonnie Frisbee was a pedophile and he did this and this and this to children and all of this. And I'm like, where did you hear this? It was somewhere online. I can't remember. then you probably shouldn't be repeating it, because you really shouldn't make accusations like that. For one, when the person is no longer here and cannot defend themselves, and two, it was someone online, like, and you know it was a fact. Because why? Because someone online said it was. Do you know how many people would get online and lie about Christians and other believers just because, well, you know, they want to like tear down their reputation or whatever? Like, come on, can we not like slander people and defame people and spread gossip about people just because, well, it was on the internet, so it must be true? No, let's just not go there. Please. Next up, Passion of the Christ. Oh, look, another Jim Caviezel film. Can you tell I'm a fan? So this film, a lot of people have a hard time watching. Some people will not watch it because of how violent it is. It is R-rated for a reason. It's very brutal, it's very violent, it's very bloody. However, I think the brutality is important, because I think a lot of Christian films water down the crucifixion to the point where it doesn't even like look realistic. Here, I feel like the brutality was really important, because I think non-Christians or lukewarm Christians can get a better understanding of what Jesus did for them. And in fact, I have a story about that I want to share with you. When I was in college, I was friends with a girl named Alicia. Now, if you watched my testimony video, you'll know that my friend Alicia, who I had known since college, passed away a couple years ago of COVID, and she was only in her 40s. When we were in college, Passion of the Christ came out, and we went to see it. Now, Alicia was raised in a Christian home, but had really like strayed from her faith. Like, she wasn't really into her faith or Christianity at all. She knew I was, but she wasn't. So we go see Passion of the Christ. We come back to our dorms. She goes to hers, I go to mine. A few hours later, there's a knock on my door. I open it up. It's Alicia. She tells me that when she got back to her dorm, she couldn't sleep. She was so like jarred by this film that she couldn't sleep. So she got out her Bible and she wanted to read the actual account of the crucifixion, because she wanted to see, or of the Passion of the Christ, because she wanted to see how close, you know, the movie came. I will never forget when she looked at me dead in the eyes and said, "He did that for us?" Wow, mind-blowing. That movie pushed her to get serious about her faith again. She started going back to church, getting into the Bible. In fact, when we graduated college, she continued to go to church, continued to strengthen her faith. It got to the point where she started teaching a Bible study at her church. So I am very thankful for this movie, because it brought her back to her faith. And especially when she passed, you know, as sad as it was, I know I will see her again. I know she is with the Lord, and I am so thankful for that. So for people who want to criticize Passion of the Christ, I get it. I mean, I understand that people really don't like the violence or the brutality. Some people think it's too much. But for me, I'm just so thankful that that film brought my friend back to her faith. Now, the film is also in Aramaic, which I know some people are not going to like, because I know people who will not read subtitles. So if subtitles are not your thing, you might not be able to watch this. But all in all, I think Passion of the Christ is an amazing, amazing film. And it's not one I can watch a lot, but I do occasionally watch it here or there, because I think that it's a good reminder, as I said, about what Jesus did for us. And I think sometimes we as Christians forget. I think sometimes we get so caught up in our day-to-day lives that we kind of forget about what sacrifice Jesus actually made for us. So yes, it's R-rated. Yes, it's tough to watch, but I couldn't make a top 10 list without having Passion of the Christ on it. Next up, I Can Only Imagine. Oh look, another true story with some of that creative license, just so you know. But it's the true story of Bart Millard, who is the lead singer of Mercy Me. Now, when I saw this film, I wasn't that eager to see it, because I like Mercy Me. I'm just not I'm not such a big fan that I'm like, oh, I need to know the lead singer's like life story. I am so glad I went to see this film though. Well, first of all, funny story. One of the reasons I wound up going to see this film is because I have someone in my life who is not a believer, and she went to see this movie and she loved it. And I'm like, huh, who doesn't know Jesus? And yeah, and she doesn't do like the whole Christian film thing. And she went to see it and loved it. And I'm like, now I'm curious. So I went to see it and I loved it. It's such an amazing film. And I didn't know, what kind of childhood he had. I didn't realize that he grew up with an alcoholic father. I didn't realize like everything that he had gone through, all the abusive situations he was put in as a child. And so I actually found the movie just super encouraging. It's such a great reminder that no matter what you go through, no matter how dark life may seem, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it is amazing what Jesus can do if you trust in him. So I don't have a whole lot to say about I Can Only Imagine, other than it is a really great song, it's a really great movie, and I totally recommend this one. Next up is a film that many of you may not have heard of called Discarded Things. I came across this film on PureFlix. Now, I'm a fan of PureFlix, but let's be honest, some of their movies are really, really bad. But that just means that when you run across something that's really, really good, you appreciate it a whole lot more. And Discarded Things is one of those movies. The film centers around a music professor named Grace, whose life spirals out of control after the death of her fiance. Through the course of the film, we discover that she also experienced a lot of other trauma in her life, trauma that her church turned a blind eye to. And so she is a very angry person. She is an alcoholic. She just has a lot of issues. And she winds up becoming a volunteer, or being forced to be a volunteer, at a home for troubled youth. Now, this film had some really amazing music. It also had some really great acting, not just by the teenagers who were in this film, but Karen Abercrombie, who plays Grace. She was also in War Room. She's just a great actress, and her performance was just amazing. I really appreciated how the writers of this film did not shy away from some difficult topics, and they did not shy away from showing that sometimes churches turn a blind eye to abuse. Sometimes churches, for whatever the reason, don't hold people accountable for their actions, and it shows the trauma that can cause to the victims, and it shows how much it can damage a person's life, how much it can damage a person's faith in Jesus. And so they did just a really remarkable job of showing some realism there. It's just a really great film. It's on PureFlix. I don't know if it's on any of the other streaming platforms, but it's called Discarded Things, and I totally recommend that you check it out. Next up, Nefarious. Now, this should not be confused with an anti-trafficking documentary called Nefarious Merchant of Souls by Exodus Cry, which I totally recommend, by the way. It's a great anti-trafficking documentary. Highly recommend. But this is not that. Nefarious, which only came out a few months ago, so it's pretty recent as well. It was touted as a Christian horror film. Yes, a Christian horror film. And it was so refreshing to see a movie that did not want to shy away from the issue of demonic possession and spiritual warfare. Now, the film stars Sean Patrick Flanery, who some of you may remember from the 90s when he played young Indiana Jones on TV. I had such a crush on him. Anyway, in Nefarious, Jordan Belfi plays a psychiatrist who has to determine whether or not this death row inmate, played by Sean Patrick Flanery, is faking demonic possession. Now, this is not an action-packed film. This is not, when you think of horror, I mean, I know people think of like violence and blood and guts and all that. It's nothing like that. It's not really violent. There's a couple of scenes, but nothing too dramatic. This is very low on action and high on dialogue. So if you don't like movies where there's a lot of talking, you probably won't like this one. This actually reminded me a lot of C.S. Lewis's Screw Tape Letters. It's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like an updated version of that. I know a lot of Christians will probably roll their eyes at this film, because I know Christians who just don't believe in spiritual warfare. They don't believe in demonic possession. They don't believe that Satan, is actually active like that today, which is really scary because Satan is real, his demons are real, and you really have to be careful because he is out there looking to attack. So I really appreciate a film not being afraid to shy away from these topics. And again, Nefarious is probably not for everyone, but there was a lot of spiritual truth in this movie. The acting was great, the storyline was great, and I'm really glad to finally see a Christian film not afraid to go to the dark side. And a lot of secular movies that talk about like demonic possession or something or whatever, they're trying to be entertaining. They want to be entertaining. Sometimes I think they want to be shocking. This movie, it's like, because the people making the movie know demonic possession is real, it's not a game to them. This is not just entertainment. This is not, we're just trying to be as offensive as we can, or we're trying to be as shocking as we can. It's none of that, which I appreciate. It was it came off as very real to me. And it made me think a lot about how serious I have to be about my faith, because Satan is out there. He is out there ready to tear people down. He is ready to attack people. And I don't believe Christians can be possessed or anything like that. I do think we can be oppressed, but I do not think we can be possessed. But for people out there who think that Satan is just, a Hollywood thing, he's just someone with a pointy tail and, a pitchfork, I would really hope that this film would help people to kind of better understand who Satan is and what spiritual warfare looks like. So I do recommend Nefarious, but I will admit it is not for everyone. What If is another film that I discovered through PureFlix. It's directed by Dallas Jenkins, starting again. What If is another film I found through PureFlix, and it's directed by Dallas Jenkins, who's known for The Chosen. If you know me, you know I love The Chosen. And the film centers around a man named Ben Walker, played by Kevin Sorbo. Now, Ben leaves his girlfriend to chase a business opportunity. And in the film, it's 15 years later, and he has found a high-paying job. He's extremely successful. He has fame, fortune, prestige, a trophy fiance on his arm. But Ben is not happy. He's angry. He's full of pride. He thinks he's better than everyone else, and he's miserable. Then one day he gets into a car accident, and he is visited by an angel who takes him back through his life and shows him what his life could have been like had he stayed with that girlfriend. What If is cute, it's funny, it's touching, and it's really thought-provoking, believe it or not. It has its cheesy moments, it has its corny moments, but I think it's such a good reminder that God's ways are not our own. And when we chase after things that are temporary, even if we find them, we're not going to be fulfilled. They're not going to fill that emptiness inside. Only God can do that. And so I think it's just a good reminder to me, because I don't like my job and I'm looking for something else, and it reminds me the grass is not always greener on the other side. So I need to really be patient and let God use me where I'm at, and He will move me on to something better when it's in His time. Because if I try to do it in my time and on my, when I want it to happen, even if I get what I want, I know I'm not going to be happy. I know I'm still going to be miserable, because ultimately I'm chasing things I want instead of chasing what God wants. So What If is just a really cute movie. Check it out. Next up is The Resurrection of Gavin Stone, also directed by Dallas Jenkins. Now, I'm not going to be able to do the story justice, so you're going to have to go on YouTube and find it. There's plenty of times when Dallas has given his testimony and talked about the situation regarding this movie. But I'll try to give you just a little snippet of what happened. When this film came out many, many years ago, Dallas thought this was going to be his big move into Hollywood. This was going to give him prestige. This was going to open up doors. This was going to just really help him to become a success in Hollywood. long story short, the movie completely bombed. And all of those connections he thought he would get, all of those doors that he thought would open, it all went down the drain. But it wound up being a good thing, because that's what eventually pushed him into, or led him into doing The Chosen. And now he doesn't care about Hollywood prestige. He doesn't care about making it in Hollywood. He doesn't care about winning Hollywood awards. He just wants to make Jesus films. And so it's such a great story of God taking a failure and really using it for his glory, and really turning it around, and taking something that was bad that happened and turning it into something amazing like The Chosen. So the resurrection of Gavin Stone is about a man named Gavin Stone, who is a famous Hollywood actor, but he gets himself in trouble with the law a lot. So he gets in trouble with the law, and he winds up on probation. And as part of his probation, he has to do community service. So he winds up doing community service at a church, and he is not a Christian, he's not a believer. So he's doing community service at this church. And this church is getting ready to put on their big Christmas production. Well, he wants to get involved because he loves acting, and he's just convinced that like he can make this production like something amazing. Because he knows better than these church people. He can help them. He can help their play become a success. Again, here's another man who's chasing after the wrong things. But the movie is so it's cheesy, it's corny, it's all of that, but it's so fun, because I've been involved in church productions, and I know how they can be. And I know that there is church drama that happens behind the scenes, and I know church productions are so corny and so cheesy, and it brought back a lot of memories for me about my church drama days. So I love it. I love the resurrection of Gavin Stone. Again, I can see why it bombed at the box office, because it's not like a great film, but it's fun. If you're looking for something lighthearted and fun, the resurrection of Gavin Stone would be it. I have another Jim Caviezel film for you. Surprise, surprise. This one is called Infidel. Now, Infidel came out in 2020. It was one of the first movies that came out after movie theaters opened back up after the whole COVID lockdown thing. And so this was the first film that I went to see. It did not do great at the box office, but a lot of movies didn't do really good at the box office at that time, because I think a lot of people were still leery about like going out to the movies. I wasn't. I could not wait till theaters opened back up. That was what I was looking forward to. So I went to see Infidel. It's not based on a true story, but it's based on something that actually does happen. And it's about a Christian blogger who finds himself imprisoned in Iran after proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ on Iranian TV. And as I said, it's not based on a specific true story, but the creators wanted to make a film showing what actually does happen to Christians in other countries, in Middle Eastern countries. Now, the story centers around the Christian underground, and they work together with Muslims who are also disgusted at the Iranian regime to free Jim Caviezel's character from prison. The film is rated R for a reason. It can be very violent, especially when it comes to like being abused in prison and the stuff that the terrorists put you through. But I think it's such a good reminder of what Christians around the world are going through. I don't think we as Christians in America have any idea what persecution looks like. Someone is mean to us and we're like, I'm being persecuted. I'm like, you don't even know what persecution is. Someone gives you a side glance. Someone, doesn't want you to get a job. Oh, I'm being persecuted. And it's like, we have no idea. Let's face it, we have no idea what true persecution is. And so I think this movie makes you take a good hard look at what real persecution is and what Christians actually go through around the world. And it really makes you ask yourself, how obedient would I be in this situation? Would I continue to proclaim my faith in Christ even if I'm getting, the tar beaten out of me in prison by terrorists? Or would I cower? What would I do? And so I really hope this film encourages people to take their faith more seriously and to really get into the Word and to really get grounded in God's Word, because there's going to come a time in your life when you are going to have to stand up for your faith. It might not be in a Middle Eastern country, but there are times when we have to stand up for our faith. And I think this is just such a good reminder to be obedient to God no matter what the cost. So it's a great film, highly recommend it, but it is not easy to watch. So last on my list is The Hiding Place. Now this is one of those movies that shocked me the first time I saw it, because as I mentioned, I got saved in 1992, and a lot of movies at that time, a lot of Christian movies I was exposed to were just bad. And I'm not sure how I found out about this film, but somehow I found out about The Hiding Place, which was originally actually filmed in 1975, and it was not made by some big, Christian studio either. But it's amazing to me because this film was made in 1975, and yet it's so gritty and realistic, and the acting is great, and the storyline is amazing. It's a true story of Corrie ten Boom, who, along with her family, were arrested by the Nazis and put into concentration camps because they were saving Jewish people and resistance workers from the Nazis. And long story short, she would be the only one of her family to survive. And it's all about her and her sister's time in the concentration camp, and how they preached Jesus to their fellow prisoners. It's just such an amazing movie. And as I said, I'm surprised that this movie was made in the 70s, and it was so much better than the movies made in the 1990s. But The Hiding Place is on, I think it's on Pureflix. I'm not entirely sure. I know it was on Pureflix at one point. I do believe it's on Amazon, and you need to find it, and you need to watch it, because Corrie's story is just so moving, and it's so beautiful, and it's so sad, and yet there's such hope in the end, because Jesus really used her to reach people during their darkest days. And I totally recommend The Hiding Place. I watched it recently. I hadn't seen it for a number of years, and I watched it recently to see if I still would enjoy it as much as I did, and I needed tissues. It really brought me to tears. So check out The Hiding Place, the 1975 version. There was recently a version that came to theaters. It was actually a stage play that was performed live on stage in Nashville, and they filmed it specifically for theaters. So when that comes out, I recommend that too, because that was also equally as amazing. But yeah, The Hiding Place is just up there. It's probably one of the best Christian movies I've ever seen. And those are 10 films that I think every Christian should watch. Now, the good news is there's plenty of other Christian films out there that are entertaining and that I think Christians would enjoy. I'm going to put some of those up on the screen because I think it's so important that we support these films. I think it's important that we support Christians in the arts. So often we love to complain about the garbage coming out of Hollywood, right? We complain that there's nothing to watch with our families, there's nothing to watch with our children, that everything is just garbage, or everything is just contrary to the Christian belief, right? Yet when Christians try to make films or TV shows like The Chosen or like some of these movies, we still complain because the people making the films are flawed individuals. Or the people making the films, they're not all Christians. Yes, believe it or not, not everyone on a Christian film set is actually a Christian. There's a lot of non-Christians who are in these productions. And to me, that's a good thing, because they are being exposed to the gospel. They're being exposed to believers of faith. So not really sure why Christians don't like that, but it's like we complain about everything. We complain that the Christians in the film or the TV show, oh, they're flawed individuals. They're imperfect. Well, yeah, so are we. So what's the point? What's your point? And I think we need to stop being so nitpicky. I think we need to stop expecting every Christian movie or every Christian TV show to have all the exact same beliefs that we do. Yes, there are some core beliefs that all Christians should agree on, right? But there are also those secondary issues that we might have disagreements on. And to throw something out, to refuse to watch something because you discovered that this writer or this director or this actor has this belief that you don't have, and it's not one of the core beliefs, it's some secondary issue, and so therefore now I can't watch this because, well, this person believes this and this person believes this. Come on, people. You know, if you're looking for a show or a movie created by Christians who have all the exact same beliefs as you in every area, it's never going to happen. You're never going to find that, so stop wasting your time. As someone who has been involved in the arts and someone who still to this day loves the arts, I am telling you, Christians need support in this area. We need believers praying for us. We need believers supporting us. We do not need believers criticizing us at every turn. Okay? Just putting that out there. So please start supporting Christians in the arts because we could really use it. We really need it. So until next time, bye.